If you've been following the printer wars of 2025, there's been a lot of shots fired. And none of them, well, few of them, were as loud as Elegoo saying that they were going to take out the X1 carbon with their low priced Centauri carbon. And don't get me wrong, fantastic single color engineering grade printing kind of machine. In fact, it was the go-to solution around my print ranch when it came to printing carbon fiber and similar kind of stuff. But when it came to doing multi-material, multicolor, a la the AMS, let's face it, Elegoo dropped the ball. And as much noise as they made, both succeeding and failing, another company quietly did it. This is QIDI. I never even heard of them until you all reached out to me and said, you got to check out the QIDI, specifically the QIDI Q2 with the QIDI box. And yeah, I know it's QIDI and it's pronounced QIDI, I believe. That's how they pronounce it. But we're going to talk about it because as good as it is, I'm not sure if it's an X1 carbon killer, but it certainly got me to get rid of my Elegoo. We're going to talk about in this video, we're going to talk about all the features, the overview and everything like that. Then we're going to talk about the setup. Then we're going to talk about what it takes to set up the box over here, because it's not as simple as it should be. Then we're going to show you some test prints and stuff like that. And then we're going to go through the pricing and conclusion, all that. So you can jump to the section you need, or you can just stick around for the whole conversation. Because honestly, this is a printer that should be part of your decision-making process. All right, here's the QIDI Q2 here, sitting on my workbench next to the X1 Carbon from Bambu Lab there. Now, this is the area where I do all my testing videos, and I do prototypes and all that kind of stuff. Call this the lab, if you would, and the factory floor is all my P1Ss. Over here. So we got 9 of those. We've got the H2D. He's kind of a flex player. He does it all. But over here is where we do the fun stuff. And right here is where it used to set, if you've seen the channel, our former ranch hand, he had his hat and all, used to set the Elegoo Centauri carbon. But he's gone now. He's off to live in a new home, and I hope he has a great time. And I miss him. I really did like that machine, but I didn't like him enough to save a space over the QIDI, because the QIDI's, it's something special, and it's not perfect. In fact, I'm going to say it's a little bit quirky. It doesn't have that kind of whole ecosystem fit and finish, just plug and play. It just works every time that I get from a Bambu experience. So I don't think it's honestly a true competitor to the Bambu. I mean, if you don't have Bambu money and you want those features, I get it. But if you want the whole Bambu experience, this isn't going to be it. But it certainly does everything the Elegoo was supposed to do and so much more. In fact, it does some stuff even better than the X1 Carbon. Let's go around it and talk about it. Okay, now, of course, I replaced the door handles. You'll see the old door handle in another one, but I like the bigger grab on these. We've named it Krakow because we name all of our printers after cities, and they're targeting this as the discount version of the X1 Carbon. We named our X1 Carbon Heidelberg, so the discount version of Heidelberg, of course, is Krakow. It's a European joke. Point is, I like the hinges on this. I like the glass on this. It feels really clean, really smooth. I like it. The lighting, it's like a cathedral in here. I love the lighting. Fantastic. The build plate, I got some issues with the build plate, okay? First off, the door's a little narrow, and unless you're perfect coming out, I find myself cracking against this door all the time. I'm constantly hitting it. It's not a big deal, but it is kind of irksome. The other thing is, rather than having 3 lead screws and 3 rails, it's got 4 rails and 2 lead screws. And the lead screws are right in the middle, and I find as I go in, I find myself, see how it's skewed there? I find myself hitting those all the time. You got to be really careful to go over the top and make sure you don't whack into those. It's not, it's not the kind of thing that's going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy it now, but it is kind of one of those things like, what were you thinking? And there's a lot of corners on this where they had to cut to make this kind of price point and get in these other features, like, say, chamber heating, which you don't have. He's got it, you don't. What you doing over there? Anyway, we got chamber heating, we got better lighting, we got side windows like on the H2D. That's incredible. One thing I don't like right here, this lip. Now, they've made room right here so you can sweep stuff over to the side and push it out. But otherwise, it'll go in here and it'll get caught under there. There's actually a gap down in there and stuff can get swept down in there. And if you had a printer, you know things are going to fall down there and it's going to happen. So that's not the best thing there. As far as the fit and finish, on screen, I've seen a lot of videos and it looked like this finish had that kind of cheap, wavy plastic look to it. It doesn't in real life. It looks great. It looks clean. It looks like a high-end beverage refrigerator. I mean, it does, all right? It just does. What's the one here? Error message, lost communication with the MCU. We're going to restart Clipper there and confirm. This is a good example of some of the things here. We'll restart the firmware. No, we're going to just have issues. Great, restart Clipper, confirm. All right, that was a perfect example of the quirkiness. I tried to restart it through the screen. It wouldn't restart, it kept coming up with the error. When in doubt, shut down and reboot. I've had the same issue with the QIDI box one time where it just didn't want to feed. It wouldn't wake up. Unpowered it, powered it back up, and it's worked. And it's worked really well. And on top of it, that is PETG-CF. I can feed exotic, abrasive kind of filaments through the box, and it's built for it. And this is the second version of the box. It's got reinforcements. You can see there, it's got reinforcements around the feed areas. It's got an access plate on the bottom. Honestly, I've had a great experience with it. One of the best things is that I can load it up with filament and I can put each one in and it will load each one sequentially. Once it gets done loading one, it'll start on the next one. This thing, I can put the filament in there and I can load it, but it will only load one and it won't automatically go to the next one. I then have to take it and load it separately after waiting for the first one to finish. It's not terrible, but it is kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, they can do it. Why can't you? The other thing is when you get this, they recommend or they require that you print this riser on it. In fact, I would recommend a riser anyway because the clearance, and just like the LU has the same problem, the PTFE tube coming in just doesn't have enough clearance to make the turn to go down in the head, and it's going to be a mess. Just print the riser either way you're going. So this one comes with the box. You don't have to print anything. I thought that's nice. A lot of these 3D printer companies will take stuff like that and be like, oh, here's the file, you print it. They shipped it with it. That's great. One of the things that's not great is you have to modify the print head and the purge chute. We're going to show that here in just a minute, but we'll come back to that. But you have to do that. That is not, again, that's not the Bambu experience. That's QIDI and all the other kind of budget stuff. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they will run through this line of production, and when they get to the end of this and they get to the next version, they'll have that all built in. One could hope. But if you're buying right now, expect to see that, all right? Another odd thing about this that's not real fun is that if you, to use this, you have to plug it in. It has a separate power plug. And so you have that to be power on, you have this to power on. Whereas the X1 Carbon, if the AMS2 Pro, if I don't want to run the heater, I don't have to plug it in. I can just run it as an AMS, and that's what I do. So it only requires one plug. It's kind of annoying that I have to run both plugs. Now, this thing I believe you can print while heating. Don't print while heating. That's just stupid. Think about it. Think if you were building a house and you started off with wet bricks and ended up with dry bricks at the top. That's what you're doing. It is dumb. Don't heat either use a separate heater or just do it overnight, let it heat, and then print with it. Don't print while heating. It's idiotic. Oh, I found the original handle that it comes with. It's cute. It's their little logo. It is honestly worse than the Bambu one on there. It's just so hard to get your finger in there. Print one of these. It makes life so much easier. And I hear people like, you're going to get snagged when you walk by it. Brother, are you twerking on your printers? I'm never walking so close to my printer where I get my backside up against it. I'm rubbing up on it. It's not a problem. All right, that's enough of the overview. Let's get into the setup of the machine, the setup of the QIDI box, and then we'll show you some test prints. Spoiler alert, they're pretty good. And then we'll talk about pricing and final thoughts and conclusions. Well, I'm not going to go super in depth. I mean, when it comes to the setup on this. First of all, get yourself a lifting cart. If you're not using a lifting cart for this kind of stuff, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing out. Also, the missus coming by says hi. That always, brightens my day, so that helps as well. But really, at the end of the day, it's just like setting up any kind of modern 3D printer. There's other install guides out there. We're not trying to be that. As far as the quality of the wrapping, they don't use all the tape the Bambu does, so it doesn't have that kind of fit and finish to it, but that saran wrap works. I mean, that's why movers use it. You go in, you cut some zip ties there, you remove some cardboard, you take off a couple pieces of tape, and again, it's just your basic setup. It's good. It's everything that's there that needs to be there, as well as an excessive amount of grease on those lead screws, man. That is just a lot there. Of course, then they got the build plate lockdown. You're going to need I think it's a 20 or 2.0 hex to remove those. I of course keep my little electric screwdriver there next to my setup because that's used for all this kind of stuff and it works just fine for it. And then, avoid the grease if you can. And then don't try to take out, of course, the foam. Save the screws. You never know what you're going to need those for. But don't try to take out the foam underneath. You're going to do that when you go through the setup. The plate will come up. As far as setting this thing up, the screen. It was easy enough. It's got a nice big adapter on it. You just snap it in place. Just make sure you have it going with the USB pointing to the right. So I was about to complain about the absolutely minuscule amount of filament they give you. But look at this. Comes with a glue stick. Comes with a legit screwdriver. By the way, $100 and I won't tell where you're copying their screwdrivers. And it's a slotted. That's odd. All right. We got a real scraper. Look at that. Don't have to print your own handle. It comes with it. And check out this bag of tools. That's a real 7mm wrench. And those hex keys are ball end hex keys, plus a fuse, cutter blades, a bunch of other little accessories. And is that an Ethernet cable? Oh my gosh. You don't have an Ethernet cable. You don't have an Ethernet cable. This guy has an Ethernet cable. What gives? Good boy. Good boy. Even comes with a little bit of grease. All right, now it's time to put the box on the box. All right, step one for installing the QIDI box on it is you got to build this riser. It comes in, was it 8 pieces, the 4 corners and the tops. You got to snap them together. Not a big deal. And you get it, and you got to take the glass out, and then it rests right in the spot where the glass was. Give it a little shimmy, and it will lock into place. And then you take the glass that was on there, and it goes down. Let me get it up here. You can see it. And it goes, and it goes. There we go. And it goes into the same spot, and then you can lock it again. One of the weird things is they now pivot differently, because I guess it's the same piece, just printed on the opposite side. But there you go. That does change the look of it. You got venting on the side. If you're printing PLA, now you don't have to open stuff up. You can just run the vents on it. So there's that. Let's get, as far as the rest of it, we're gonna get that set up. It's got that. You got to put on its buffer system, and then you've got all these little fiddly parts, and then you got to basically build a port going through the riser. It's not as plug and play as the Bambu Lab. I'll give it that much. It's not terrible. It's not, but it is more. All right, it's a bit more entailed than I thought. There's the runout sensor. This sheet, you've got to go in and you've got to basically disassemble the print head and exchange out the, disconnect the wire from the Hall element interface, unscrew the screws that fix the filament runout sensor, remove the original filament runout sensor, install the new one, plus the metal sheet. I'm sorry, but this is not beginner level stuff. All right. Can a beginner do it? They can sit down, sure. But, you know, I know some people, if I sat down, I'm like, here's a Bambu Lab. They plug it all in and it just works. Those same people, if I told them you got to replace this sensor, they'd be done. And you're not going to compete against Bambu Lab with stuff like this. Okay, so using the controls, you come up here, you hit that, then you can go here, and now you can control where everything is. So I brought the print head up close to work on, and we moved the print bed all the way down to give us plenty of room. So now we're gonna pull this over here, and now we're gonna cut off the power so we don't zap anything. And as you can see, we got our icon light here, giving us all the light we need. Now we gotta take that thing apart. Now they want me to come in here and literally rip this piece out. And now, I'll just use my fingers for this. Remove this adhesive. Then we take this other piece and it simply clips on there. The other thing I had to do was I removed this from here, and we're gonna take this and remove this from all of this. This is the stage where we wanna spin the whole machine around. We're gonna come back here and we're gonna remove a blue clip on this one. Let me just do this here. Push that in there, spin that around. Well, if he's gonna be stubborn, we can be just as stubborn. There we go. Come on. Take that off. Now that we're back here, we can take this part off, which honestly I think is one of the worst parts of the whole machine. It does not feel like quality in the least bit. All right, and then we're gonna build a pass through here. We're gonna ignore this. Okay, at this point, you're gonna take this tube and you're gonna run it through that hole up here. Come on, there we go. You go all the way in there, right to there. And the end piece of this is gonna go into one of these. I guess down here, this has gotta be backwards. So this goes in here like that. And that goes into there. Make sure you go around the springs. There you go. Make sure he's locked in tight. All right. These 4 PTFE tubes are going to get plugged in right under there into that. This cable, this white piece, is going to get plugged in right there. Remember, as I tell you on this, this is not a hot swap cable. Do not unplug it while in use. And then this plugs in here, goes right down through there, double loops through there. And then this other end here is going to plug into the QIDI box. And then this other box is going to plug into the other ports on the QIDI box. So this 8-pin is going to plug in right down here. All right, we're going to take one of these, put it on this tube, and slide it all the way down to snug it up against that box, the edge of the box there. Okay, now we have one of these on either side, and that's going to hold that PTFE tube tight so it can't just slide back and forth through there. Then we're going to feed it through all these other hoops we had, and then back down into the feed down there. Okay, we've got it run through those loops into the top. Now, we'll put the top of this back on. There we go. All right, the rest of this is fairly simple. This is the line coming from here. We've got this. We're going 8-pin, and we get it aligned correctly up into the box. Give it a firm little wiggle. Remember, not hot swappable, right? We get the other line that comes from down here. That's this one. Terminates into a 4-pin. Again, the same thing. Do not hot swap. This one's slightly different in that the tabs on the top rather than on the bottom. All right, line that up, give him a firm little wiggle. Make sure he's in there, there we go. Now to connect the PTFE tubes, as I understand it, doesn't matter which port they go into, all right? But being who I am, I'm probably gonna come out with some sort of weird system that this one comes up, goes into that port, then push it in, give it a little tug, you know it's in there. The next one behind it to the side, we're gonna bring it up behind it and it's gonna go into that port. There we go. Then we got these two on the outside. This one's gonna come up, go to that one. And this one's gonna come up and go into him. Right there. All right, now we just gotta tidy these up. And that's where these little things come into play. All right, these are all now bundled up and these are swinging in the wind. But the good news is we got one more cable because the QIDI box requires its own power port. That sucks, especially considering that my port here has 3. One goes to him, one goes to him, and one goes to him. Those AMSs power from the machine, not the QIDI box. I think I'm gonna have to unplug my table for now until I get a 4-port plug. Another annoying, if stupid issue, the plug and power switch for the QIDI box are on the back left side. The plug and power switch for the QIDI 2, bottom right. So if you gotta turn them both off, you gotta reach around to opposite sides. Who didn't even think about that? There's a fumble. All right, well, it's saying box not connected. Let's kick a refresh. No box detected. Well, did I turn the power off on this? Maybe that's power on. There we go. Error message. Clippy host not connected. Oh, I heard you have to restart the firmware. All right, well, it talked to itself for a minute. Now it says it's functioning properly. We'll come back out of here. There's the box. Of course, we had to take the rack off, so no rack. But let's see. Let's load some filament. All right. I'm gonna come up here. Got my filament. I'm doing it by feel. Is it supposed to sound like that?
They said it does sound like that. That's the way it's supposed to sound.
It's a little clacky. And it is generic. And it's PET. PE or PETG. They don't have PET high flow, so PETG. There we go. Color is black. And we'll confirm. Says it's black. Let's try loading some more. All right, one of the other complaints that's often said about the QIDI boxes is how noisy the fan is. And we have a print that is stopped. It's just sitting here waiting for its next job. It's on. And I don't know how well you can hear it on the recording. I'm about 2.5, 3 feet away from the front of the box. The fan, of course, is on the back of the box. And it's noticeable. It's not super loud. It's not super obnoxious. But if I was sitting in a nice, quiet office kind of setting at home or wherever, again, I would not want this sitting near me. All right, it's been about 15 minutes since the print stopped, and the fan noise has now dropped. I don't know if you can hear it. It's still audible, but we're at like PC levels at this point. Very tolerable. Much better than it was before. So next up, we have the ritual we always have to do, whereas this sucker's got to go. I hate this. I hate this even more than the bamboo one. So we're going to put one of these T-style handles where it makes it accessible from any angle you're coming at. It makes it nice and easy. You're going to see also, we're getting a nameplate. Who's a big boy with the nameplate? Look at that. This one's actually a little bit loose. I don't like that, but you know what? It'll do for now. Crack aisle is ready for service. All right, we went from that to that. Much easier to grab. You can grab it from any angle. It doesn't have the logo yet. Got to earn that logo. We're going to keep printing it. We're going to put it in service for the next month to see how it does. Every day, run it all the time, just like the rest of our production gang over here, and see if it can hold up. All right, our print is finished. We're going to compare. Here's one that was printed on one of my other machines. You can see we're going to compare quality here. Let's open it up. And there we go. All right. Let me take this off the plate and we'll come back. Here's the finished product. And we can see the numbers, not perfect. It's pretty good. It is, I mean, we're dealing with, you know, a non-native filament. There's some interesting stringing or banding right there. That is odd. Oh, and you could feel that too. Now let me see, is that on both pieces? Just on that one piece at that one location. That's odd. Now we compare that side by side to one. This one's printed on the bamboo. This one's printed on the QIDI. Compare the lettering on the side. Pretty good quality, but the weirdness on this one, that is, well, that's going in the reject bin. I can't sell that one. All right, you can confirm. Let's see. I hate that handle. There it is in all its buckety glory. Look at that. It's a pretty darn good bucket. For a quick comparison, Lowe's 2-gallon bucket, PCTG printed on the Elegoo Centauri bucket, and PLA on the QIDI 2 bucket. Let's compare the seam on these. There's the seam and the seam on this. I gotta say, and it may just be the filament. We'll have to put some PET G in there and see how it does. Looks really good on this one. Let's compare it to this. Yeah, there's the seam on this one. So we're gonna run some Bambu PET G CF through it and see how it handles it. right. Let's see what we got. Oh, they do not want to let go of that plate. All right, let's talk about this. That is, it's hard to see, but that's what's left on the plate. Flex it. That's not coming off. That is, I mean, let's talk about the print, all right? This print, this looks good. That's clean. This is, now remember, this is carbon fiber. Carbon fiber PTEG. Printed without supports, just like that, just like it sits. This looks really good. I mean, the holes, you know the holes when printing vertical like this, they're gonna have an issue, but that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That looks like a really good print. That is not something I like to see. I'm gonna take the scraper to it and then some alcohol and see if we can clean that up. This is after meticulous cleaning. All right, that's what the handle normally looks like. And there's nothing wrong per se, but if you're a taller guy, it's kind of short, you have to kind of bend over. So it's nice to have this up. Look at this, you're at the right push height and everything. It's taller. Everything about this is better, except for the fact that I did that on the first use of it. And that's because that's my fault, because I printed it at the wrong, because I printed it like this, and that's where the layer is gonna break. So let's fix that. All right, round two, different orientation. We put glue down this time. Let's see if it comes off the bed any easier. And yes, the bed is cooled. This has been done for quite some time. Oh, so much better. Still left residue. Not as clean. We got that. I knew that we were going to get that because I didn't use supports on this. Those holes aren't quite as nice. Of course, those are damn near perfect. It's still more than good enough. All right, we have them installed. I gotta admit, I like the angle on it. The first time I went to move this, I pushed it forward, they broke. Well, that's a fail again. All right, we did something different with this print. We did print by object. So I was able to print one color on this side, one color on that side with no color swapping. It printed those two first, and then it printed these two. That's the same material, PET GCF. This is just PET. That came right off the build plate. Let's see how this does. He's not liking it. We gotta take him out. All right, we've got the new ones on. Now remember, these cracked because the seam was going this way. The other one cracked because the seam was going this way. On the new ones, the seam is going this way, which means the only way it should crack is if we push hard that way. But let's try it. I run into my other cart. Give it a shove. Yeah. Well, nope. There was a little creak there at first. I think it was just the bolts setting in. And since there's just not that much mass going side to side, that looks like that's going to hold up. All right, pricing on this. Pricing for just the box is $500. If you want the combo, it's $650 right now, which is a pretty good deal. Now, if you think about it, $650. If you want the P1S though, you can get the P1S combo for $550 right now. But you're not going to get the ability to do abrasives. You're not going to get the QIDI box's ability to handle abrasives. You're not going to get the actively heated chamber. I mean, you're not going to get an actual usable screen because that screen sucks. I know. They're great. I mean, I bought more of them. I like them, but again, calling it what it is. This is just a better all-around machine as far as the feature set. As far as the build quality, I don't know. I feel like the Bambu's built better. The QIDI does have a couple areas where it wins. How about using an actual linear rail rather than using the tube system? I think in the long run that's better. But then again, they use, you know, less lead screws. They have it spread out differently. The materials they build with are more plasticky than they are on the Bambu. The Bambu just feels like a more integrated chassis. But at that price, at $650, what about the PS2? The PS2 is coming in at $800. So you're looking at this at $650 or the PS2 with everything for $800. At that point, it's hard to say spend $650 on this and not spend an extra $150 to get the PS2, get into that Bambu ecosystem, get the latest rev, all that support, all the spare parts. QIDI is cool. I like the QIDI box. I'm going to keep it. I also got it for free. All right? I didn't spend my own money on it. They sent it to me for review. I want to say that you should get it because, I mean, like, I kicked my Elegoo to the curb for it, which I got for free. Now, the only boxes I've paid for here, I got that for free. I got that for free. But those three, that's $3,000+ worth of equipment. That's all stuff we bought for the ranch. And I bought it because I like the Bambu ecosystem. I like the way it works. I just got it. You can't see how deep that is. That goes all the way across the shelf. That's $1,000 worth of filament from Bambu we just bought in bulk because it just works. So let's wrap this up. What do I think? Should you buy this? If you need a fully enclosed, actively heated, multicolor that can do abrasives, and you're on a tight budget and you just can't afford Bambu money, that's the way to go. I would not. I mean, they did what Elegoo wanted to. They did it. They're the budget Bambu, but they're not Bambu. It's not a Bambu killer. It's a great machine, but it's quirky. It has some English issues. It's got definitely some UI issues. Oh, there's some things where you're hunting and trying to find, and it's just like, why would you put that there? There's definitely some UI issues. It's got a good enough screen. It's got everything about it is good enough, and it's got extra features that you're just like, really? They added that in there? That's awesome. But at the end of the day, is it a production machine that I would put, like, would I replace my P1Ss with it, even if they're at the same price? And that's no. I would not, because I don't feel like it's got that. It's just going to crank out things every day the way these are. These just crank stuff out, and they don't take smoke breaks. They don't need to get rebooted all the time. They don't have quirky little funny features that you have to sit down and take 15 minutes to an hour to try and figure out what's going on. They just shut up and work. This could do things they can't, but it is going to take a smoke break. And he's going to ask if he can go home at 4:30 rather than 5. And you get what I'm saying. It's a great machine. And for the hobbyist, fantastic machine. And honestly, if you were doing specialty builds, like a guy I was talking to, he does a lot of high heat kind of stuff. He does a lot of custom engineering kind of stuff, but he only needs to run 1 or 2 printers, and he's right there tending to it as it prints. Maybe not a bad idea for that. So for a custom lab kind of experience, yes. For a ranch experience, no. It's a unique item. I'm really happy it's in the market. I think it's going to make everyone better. It's going to definitely push you to be better, and maybe even cheaper. So let's cheer them on for that. I definitely think it should be something you should consider. Only you can really decide whether it's what you need. I want to thank QIDI for sending it over. It's been fantastic. So has he earned a spot on the ranch? I think so. That's our new ranch hand. We'll see how long he sticks around. Thanks again to QIDI for sending this over. Links to everything down below. You all take care. God bless. And as always, shine on.